Jorge, I was just chatting with Mika Elliott on the tubes, and he was saying how Mercedes and Mondiamonds become the new Vanjie of season 11. Oh hey, hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race season 11, episode 3, and all I have to say is, Jorge, drink me. Ooh, look at you making something fancy in my good stemware. Well, now, what are we calling this? Oh yes, all right. So this is the Pop Diva. Well, Jorge put it together, didn't you? No, I helped him. I told him what to make. This is my signature cosmopolitan drink. It's literally a cosmopolitan, a little cream soda thrown in, so it's a little smoother and a little sweeter because, let's just say it, cosmopolitans weren't that refreshing, I'm just saying. Ooh, made with black cow vodka, my favorite. Now, if you want the recipe, I've written it down below in the notes, but if you're supporting me on Patreon for $5 a month, then you can see my Wilma Drinks tutorial on how to make this delicious cocktail right now. Seriously. Okay, so let's get to it. Well, I just want to send a shout out to Mika Elliott because he was very nice in chatting with me on the tubes about how MID, well, that's what I want to call Mercedes the Mondiamonds for because it takes too long. Whoa, I'm winded already. How MID's opulence, you earn everything's become the meme of season 11 already. But I think Mika is jumping just a little ahead. No, sorry about it, Mika, if you're watching. I think he's jumping just a little ahead of it because when Vanjie became Vanjie, that was it. She was gone. She's never come back, well, except for season 11. But that was it, her one shot, and that was her exit line. Mercedes Mondiamond has at least another episode to go to make a fool of herself. So I'm just saying, maybe the gravitas of her meme is just regular. It's not Vanjie quality. But that said, we started this episode off by saying goodbye to Kahana Montrese. God bless her. And as sad as most everyone was to see her go, I thought Vanjie had some good points to make, speaking of, because she was saying how Kahana seemed to be struggling at everything, and I liked her advice. Pick a struggle. Can't fail at everything. Pick one thing to fail at. Once you get that one down, move on to the next one. Seriously, here's the Vanjie. She got the best advice in the world, I'm just saying. Something else I was very happy to see in the workroom after Kahana's elimination was Nina West worrying about fading into the background. And I'm so glad because I thought she was the only one who was noticing that because I was noticing it. I didn't want her to fade in the background, but what do you say? Sparkle more! Anyway, I'm glad she felt that she was starting to fade. And as we saw from this episode, it was probably the kick in the hoolies she needed to pull it out of, well, the recycle bin is all I'm saying. Seriously. Now, another person I was very happy to see have a moment right after Kahana's elimination was Scarlet Envy, God bless her. I love that she got to rub everybody's nose in her win last pick. Suck on that is more or less what she said. I'm glad she took that moment too because something tells me she's not going to get many more, I'm just saying. Speaking of opportunities, it seems to me that Ariel's more or less killed any opportunity she may have still have had to make nice with Taki Ganache because the way Taki was going on about her, calling her an Instagram whore and that she doesn't know how to be around entertainers, well, I'm sorry that Taki feels that way about Ariel. Now, I want to be clear, I understand why she feels that way about Ariel, but I'm sorry that she does because I think once these girls start discrediting what other girls have done to make a name for themselves, then we're starting to split lace front wig hairs. But Taki's anger seemed to be short-lived because everybody was in greater spirits the next day in the workroom, ready for whatever the week had to offer. And they didn't have to wait long because there was Ru with this week's mini challenge. The queens had to use their powers of persuasion to get backstage passes to a seduction concert. Said no one ever. I'm just serious. It was a great idea for a mini challenge, I thought, because Ru was the doorman and the girls had to get into quick drag. And can I just have a minute? I enjoy quick drag. I don't think I don't. But this isn't RuPaul's quick drag race. It's RuPaul's drag race. I want to see these girls beat those mugs. And although this was fun, I'm just going to say, all right, maybe this hopefully is the last time they do a quick drag. Cause, well, anyway, so they did. And I'll tell you, not everyone's worth talking about, But the ones that stood out for me, first off, Plastique Tiara. Anytime anybody goes, I'm in love. Seriously. Miss Vanjie, well, I could just listen to her talk forever. I just think she's a hoot. And almost everything she says is hilarious. So she was a standout to me for sure. Raja O'Hara in a good thing. In the good thing. It's just hilarious. And of course, the standout obviously was Nina West, who just wanted to see her mom. She just wanted to see her mom. Honorable mentions, I'm sorry, but Honey Davenport, when Rue said, well, that's a half a reason, she goes, well, half? Her reaction to that was fabulous. And of course, Taki Ganache for football tackling a wall. I don't think we're going to see that a lot on RuPaul's Drag Race. Seriously. Now, before we move on, I want to just say, I know that this episode, a lot of people saw their pop star idols disrespected by so-called fans. But I want to say, I don't think anyone was more disrespected than Michelle Visage. I can't believe not one of those queens could name another song other than It Takes Two to Make a Thing Go Right. Because, I mean, I bought at least 3 songs from her. There was It Takes Two to Make a Thing Go Right, Side B, an extended remix. There's 3. Seriously, these girls just don't know any of their history, I'm just saying. Anyway, it was little surprise that Raja and Nina were this week's winners, which made them team captains for the main challenge. The girls had to show their diva worship skills. They had to pick a diva of their own choosing and worship them in this Shevangelical style television show. Live. No script, no second take. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is a challenge for the girls who like to act. They know how to do a character. They know how to stay in character. All the girls that were worrying the most about this kind of challenge were pooping their pants right after Rue explained it, and then all of them ended up on Raja's team. Now, I know I'm being cruel. I mean, let's just say right off the bat, Raja's selections for her team seem to look fabulous on paper. I mean, there was Scarlett fresh off of last week's win, and Plastique Tiara and Sugar Cane both did very well in the acting challenge last week, so they themselves should have been good to go. And you know, Brooklyn Heights can say what she wants about Akira, but Akira was hilarious as Rhonda from the DMV. I mean, I know she said she's been fading into the background on the runway, but seriously, her acting has not been the problem. I'm just saying. Plus, let's not forget, Raja did win this mini challenge. So, this was their team's challenge to win. On paper. Sometimes from the paper to life, things don't always work out the way we want. I'm so serious. Nina chose well, eh? I mean, seriously. Taki Ganache, say what you want about her, but she is hilarious and always has something to say. 2 things you absolutely need in an improv challenge. I'm so serious. And she picked Evie, oddly, who won last week's challenge as well. So right away, there were 2 standouts. Now, I have to say, the smartest queen she picked, I mean, her smartest pick of a queen was Vanessa Vanjie Mateo. This queen, as I said, is hilarious. Everything out of her mouth is hilarious. But she's also very colorful. She's always got an interesting turn of phrase. She just goes, lets her mouth run. She just tries to keep up with it. And I feel that she is one of the queens in a challenge like this that would be very, very hard to match. I think she's going to set the bar for this kind of challenge. And quite frankly, I'm glad she did. Of course, it was a little bit awkward when Nina balked at her next pick for queen, which, of course, was Brooklyn Heights. But she didn't go for her first. She went, and she looked around, and the other queens she had to pick from, remember, were Ariel, Akira, Mercedes Amon Diamond, and Honey Davenport. And she questioned whether Brooklyn should have been her next pick. If I were Brooklyn, I would have taken that as a hint that I sucked hard candy in my last challenge, I'm just saying. Of course, when it was all said and done, the last 2 queens to be picked were Akira and Mercedes Amon Diamond. And you could see Akira was not going to be having any of that, and rightly so. I think that somehow or another Akira's been missed by these other girls, or maybe they're thinking she's doing well enough in one area but not well enough in another that maybe she's worth getting rid of. I don't know. But rightly so, Akira, you should be upset that you were picked second last next to Mercedes. Mercedes Amon Diamond looked like she was just happy to be anywhere. I'm just saying. So, the queens knuckled down and got to work. I have to say, Nina was adorable. She was so giddy during this whole challenge. I mean, she really was feeling her out. This was what she came to RuPaul's Drag Race for, and it showed. And I think it really, energized her team because they all seemed to be on board. Now, the first choice they had was to pick a diva. They only mentioned two divas, Whitney Houston, bless her, and Britney Spears. And I just would like to say this once and for all, Britney Spears is not a diva. She is a pop princess. It's a totally different thing. A diva is a diva, and Britney Spears is not that. I'm not diminishing her fame or her glory or her talent, but I'm just saying, she's not a diva. That said, Nina's team picked Britney Spears. And this is why America's falling apart, if you ask me. Seriously. I have to admit, I was super surprised that Ariel wanted to work with Taki. About as surprised as Taki was to see that she did. Quite seriously. Now, I thought that this was one of two ploys on Ariel's part. Either she actually wanted to make nice and get close to Taki and maybe bond over a challenge, or she just thought by outshining her in a challenge she could shut her up once and for all. Which one do you think I picked? Seriously. It was also very evident quite quickly that nobody had faith in Mercedes Amon Diamond. They were just assuming she was going to be the weakest link on their team and started to do all her thinking for her, which I think is part of the problem. I think that it perpetuates its own problems. Seriously, poor thing. Which was hilarious in my mind because, as we all know how it all turned out, I'll bet you that Akira is kicking herself now for not getting picked last. I'm just saying. Team Raja seemed to be feeling their diva goodness way better than Team Nina. I mean, at least they had different names to throw out. They had Patty, they had Diana, they had Whitney, also Dolly. I just have to say, I'm a little surprised that Cher didn't pop up. Now, Team Raja did seem to settle on Mariah Carey because they said it would be easier, but I have to say I'm very disappointed in this team. First of all, I'm very disappointed that Honey dismissed Diana Ross out of the gate because she's RuPaul's favorite diva. I understand why she said it, but being afraid of that just, to me, makes them all look like they're afraid to try. I'm just serious. And I do understand why they did not go with Whitney, because as they said, most of her memorable moments now are moments that aren't flattering to her. And Mariah Carey totally is a diva. But I can't believe they knew nothing about her. All they seemed to know was her name. Even Raja started singing a Whitney Houston song to Emotions, which she thought was Mariah Carey's Emotions. Well, I'm just glad that Whitney's already dead, because if she had been alive to see that, it would have killed her. I'm so serious. But before the queens could pull anything really together, there was Ru to check on everyone's progress. Now, he stopped in to say hi to Nina's team first, and they were ready for him. They had answers, they were ready, but what they weren't ready for was Ru's little come to Jesus hallelujah moment with the team. There was a moment during it where I was like, is Ru having a stroke? What's going on with Ru? Why is he so animated? But then I realized that he was giving them the televangelist a full tilt boogie experience. And I think it was a great thing for him to do, because it really seemed to inspire the team, talking about finding the rhythm. Don't fight your rhythm. You're not going to succeed if you try to get on someone else's rhythm. Find your own rhythm. Stick to your hallelujah. It was a fantastic little speech. And another reason why I think RuPaul should absolutely have a self-help book or video series, or even maybe just do. Too bad Ru's talk with Team Raja didn't go so well. I'm so serious. She read those queens for filth for not knowing anything about the diva they themselves picked, and so she should have. I'm so serious. I mean, what were those queens thinking? And even after Ru's shaming and she left them to their own embarrassment, they still felt that what they knew about Mariah Carey was better than what they didn't know about everyone else. So clearly, there were some problems with this team. It's like they wanted to lose. I'm just saying. And then it was on to the live tapings with director Ross Matthews. And I just have to say, right out of the gate, Team Nina West was on point. Those girls were ready. They were focused. Nina clearly was driving that bus. Her energy as the host was just magnetic. Those girls all had nowhere to go from there but up. And I have to say, which is why I kind of felt a little bad for Brooklyn Heights. There was just that minute when she started talking where the energy went in, like, oh, and then she made that genie in a bottle reference, which is the Christina Aguilera reference, which I didn't understand. And I'm sure it made sense to her at the time, but for me, it just was weird. Thank God Nina just sparkled through that, though, because it really helped Brooke a lot. Sorry about it. Thank God for Miss Vanjie, eh? I'm so serious. I mean, she really, and then it was another one who made that whole segment work for her team. She was hysterical, as I knew she would be. She was over-animated, as I hoped she would be. And even when she thanked herself, she did not stop what she was doing. The cameras were on, she kept talking, she sparkled until they said cut. Good for her. And that whole segment with Evie and MID went beautifully. Not that Evie or MID gave her much to work with, I'm just saying. But it's still, the segment in itself I thought was a little stupid out of the gate anyway, but they made it work. It was fantastic. And then, surprise, surprise, Ariel and Silky Ganache doing that number, it was fantastic. I have to say, if anyone were to shine out of that duo, it was Ariel. She did a great job. I think it's because I expected what Silky gave us. I expected that from her. But even at the end of that whole thing, when Silky, you better work, bitch, and then Ariel did her little Britney Spears sound. I can't even do it. She's why I'm not a pop star in Vegas. Hilarious. Here's to Ariel. Sweet beats. I didn't expect her to shine as much as she did, but she certainly did. Sweet thing. Too bad for Team Raja that Nina's team went first, because there was no way in hell that team was going to get their padded asses over the bar that Team Nina West set. I am just saying. I mean, right out of the gate, I don't understand Scarlett O'Hara's character as the host. She kept shimmying like she was having the shakes or maybe a religious experience. I don't know, it was just weird. And I have to say, Honey's energy just seemed stinted. There was a lot of stuff that Scarlett was doing, like that first throw to commercial that Shug did beautifully, but then Scarlett repeated it. There was a lot of miscommunication, no one listening to each other. It was really a horrible way to start this challenge. And it just got worse, I'm so serious. I mean, I think the best part of the whole challenge was Akira as the convert. Because at least she distracted from Plastique Tiara and that devil voice for her Ariana Grande thing. I mean, I understand where she was going with it, but I don't even think Plastique Tiara could keep her voice right, because right out of the hop, she started with one voice, and then it became girlier, and then it went, and she didn't seem to know what she was doing. Akira seemed to know exactly what she was doing, what she was there to do. She did a great job. I mean, in a bowl full of turd apples, she was floating. I'm just saying, it wasn't like the rest were good. She was better than them. She just wasn't as bad as they were. Seriously. Of course, no one in the history of RuPaul's Drag Race was as bad as, I'm sorry to say, Raja and Honey. Oh, sweet Marie. That was the worst song. They could never remember their own lyrics. They couldn't even find a key to sing it in. They kept blaming each other for not knowing how the notes and everything. Oh, it was just a mess. I have to say, the best part of that whole challenge was the ending when they stopped. And Ross said his word of advice, which was, bring it to the runway. Oh, if those girls weren't worried before this challenge, that would have galvanized anyone to expect nothing good to happen after this. Seriously. The next day, back in the workroom, the girls were fretting over their performances, whether they had done well or not, as any queen would. Everyone except for Honey Davenport, who was having, as she said, a milk moment. She felt that she killed that challenge. Well, it was dead, all right. I'm just saying, but sweet Marie, I think she's smoking a little of whatever it is that Silky gets a hold of that keeps her confidence up too, because I'll tell you, they should sell that. If that's what's going to get them through RuPaul's Drag Race, they should quit being queens and just sell whatever that is. Seriously. And then this happened. Seriously. first time that we've had a romance on RuPaul's Drag Race or the smatterings thereof. I mean, sure, we've talked about people who found other people attractive, and yes, there's been all of that Twitter on the socials about producers sleeping with certain queens and stuff like that. But two contestants? I don't know. I think that's adorable. First of all, I think Vanjie is so attractive in and out of drag. I totally get it. Good for Brooklyn Heights, I'm just saying. A kisser once for me. Brooklyn is cute together. So the queens got ready, and by got ready, I mean watch Stevie paint herself pink. Seriously. I think that this was just a desperate attempt for her to have camera time by getting completely naked and painting every inch of her body pink. Because I don't care what costume you have, there's no reason for you to paint your taint. I'm going to print that on a t-shirt. Seriously. But there was no time to ponder Evie's plan because it was time for the runway, and there was Ru, looking spectacular in green. I'm so serious. Someone else who looked great. My God, Guillermo Diaz. Oh, this is another one. Oh, him and Vanjie. That's it. That's what I want. Bookends, Latin bookends. In my, I just think Guillermo Diaz is. I've thought he was adorable since 200 Cigarettes. If you haven't seen that, he doesn't talk in the movie, but I like the silent, quiet type. You know, so, but seriously, just a doll, and he looked good on the judging panel. Someone else who looked really good was Troye Sivan, although I have to admit, I have no idea who that is. Doesn't make him less cute. I have no idea who he is. I mean, I looked him up. I know who he is now, but at the time. And then the queens hit the runway. I have to say, I'm so sorry that Honey tied such an emotional undertone to her costume about suicide and all that, because I hated that dress. And I didn't want to hate it after she said her story, but that was just an awful dress. It, as Michelle Visage said, it looked like VHS tape all over the place. Oh, and a hat. I hate that. I hate it when they put fringe around a circle hat. It to me is just unnecessary. Poor Honey. Seriously, not a good week for her. Scarlett obviously listened to Ross's advice because she looked spectacular on that runway. Classic drag. I loved it all. I loved the wig. I loved the gloves. I loved the nails. I loved everything. She could have had more fringe, if you ask me. She could have had a little skirt with more fringe, but short of that. Shook's nod to her heritage was another fabulous look. So good for Shook, is all I'm saying. Oh, good for Shook. There's a thing. Plastique Tiara was another one who listened to Ross. She looked spectacular. I love that dress. It was just dripping with gorgeousness, as was she with her Ariana Grande pony and all that. She looked fantastic. She really needed to this week too because, oh, PU. I loved Akira's look as well. I just loved the whole thing. She looked like a human candelabra. Actually, you know who she looked like? She looked like Cyndi Lauper from Cyndi Lauper's True Colors video. Stunning look. And I can see why Troy was so enamored of it. I'm just saying. Raja was another one I thought didn't listen to Ross because she didn't bring it to the runway. Now, I have to say I liked this outfit. The color was gorgeous on her. The top was nice. The only way that this outfit would have met the requirement in my mind of bringing fringe to the runway was if she had fringed those boots. Because regardless of the fringe she had on in that outfit, the boots were the standout focal point of that whole look, and the fact that there was no fringe on them. If those boots had been fringed right the way down, they would have looked spectacular as she stomped it out. I'm serious. I wish that she had thought that look through a little more. Someone else who I wish thought her look through a little more was Nina West. Now, I'm going to probably lose some fans here, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say I didn't like this outfit on her. It's not that I didn't like the idea of the outfit. The outfit in itself reminded me of Joanne Worley on Laughing, and I loved it, loved it, loved it. But I hated the color. I just thought that mushroomy color. Now, she said her mushroom hat. Maybe that was the whole point. She was supposed to look like a fungus. Well, good job. But I don't think fungus is really anybody's achievement. That's not what you should be aiming for, fungus. I wish she had gone with even a chartreuse, an electric chartreuse, or a puce that was just magnetic, maybe a lot of sparkle. I just have to say, I'm glad that Nina did well in the acting challenge this week. And I don't think this was a bad runway outfit. I just wish it had been just a little better. I expect a lot out of my Nina. I'm just saying. Come on, Nina. Brooklyn Heights looked good enough to tiptoe through with all those daisies and her flower girl realness. I'm so serious. Vanjie was adorable too in her red fringe. Now you see how her fringe dress was more fringy, in my mind, than Honey's fringe dress. Also, I just have to say, there's something about Vanjie in drag. She just doesn't look real. She looks like a doll. Even when she's winking her eye, she just looks like bing, bing, like she's like a fembot. That's who Vanjie is. She's a fembot. And I'm okay with that. Just saying. Evie's look was spectacular. That was such a good look. I think that whole jellyfish thing was such a success on the runway. She really did look like she was floating down. But one thing she absolutely did not need to do was paint every crack and crevice of her entire body. She could have been wearing tighty whities under that costume. Nobody would have known. I'm just saying. It was an unnecessary scream for attention, if you ask me. When that costume in and of itself screams enough. I'm just saying. This week's worst look was worn by Mercedes Amon Diamond, aka MID, aka What Were You Thinking? Oh my god, that was the worst of it. This was Honey's outfit worse. And it's because it was green. The fringe, it was stupid. The whole thing looked like an afterthought. Oh god, I cannot believe that Mercedes Amon Diamond is a pageant queen. None of these costumes live up to what I consider to be pageant queen realness, is just what I'm saying. Seriously. She dodged a bullet this week, but she's got to do something. I'm so serious. Ariel's outfit was super cute, as is she, but I would argue that this was fringe. I mean, technically, yes, it was fringy, but I don't know. I have to say, it's a good thing she didn't have a bad week in the acting challenge, is all I'm saying. Seriously. Taki Ganache's outfit, though, sweet beats. I know she said she had 80 yards of fringe in it, but it looks like she just wrapped them up around her. What a terrible dress. And she had those white things on the side. I didn't understand why they were showing through. It looked like zippers or something. Why would you need zippers in a dress like that? It just was a lot. And all she did was she kept turning on her way down the runway. I have to say, the color was spectacular. That's it. But I hated her makeup. I hated the look. I don't know. It wasn't a good week for her. Thank God she was on Nina's team, is all I'm saying. Seriously. So, it was no surprise to anyone that Nina's team won this week's main challenge. And as great as Nina was, I feel that Ms. Vanjie just edged her out just a little on that challenge. I just don't think we were expecting anything from Vanessa Vanjie Mateo, and she delivered all of that. So in my mind, I felt that Vanjie had outshone Nina just that little bit, but I am not going to take anything away from Nina West on her first win of RuPaul's Drag Race. Here's to you, Nina. You're still my pick for making top 3, so seriously, girl, let's hope this is just the beginning of a new wave of wins for you. Seriously. Of course, no one was surprised that Raja's team was in the bottom, but what they were surprised at finding out was that everyone in Raja's team was up for elimination, and I understand why. I mean, seriously, none of the girls seemed to do anything that contributed to the challenge, and even when Ru asked them who would they send home, none of them said anybody. I'm sorry, but if it were up against me and somebody else, I would have said anybody else's name. And in this case, no offense to Raja, I would have said Raja, because she was the team leader. She let that team pick a diva they didn't know. She let that team go ahead, even though they were completely unprepared. There was no, from my opinion, leadership or anything from Raja. So in that case, I would have at least said Raja. But, you know, in true sisterhood, nobody said anybody, and of course that pissed Ru off even more. So when the queens all came back from the Untucked Lounge, they all had to lip sync for their lives. All 6 of them on the same stage. And as you can imagine, it was a bit of a free-for-all. I'm so serious. The queens kept seeming to try and get ahead of each other. Akiria had that weird headpiece on. It was a lot of work. I can understand why Honey Davenport did a death drop off the stage, but she was in black. When she death dropped off the stage, not everything down there is black. She completely disappeared. Nothing said, "Don't look at me," more than that. And then the rest of the song, oh, she just seemed to just have she was desperate. She just looked desperate. She acted desperate. All her moves were desperate. It was sad. So when the music stopped and the queens were able to catch their breath, it was no surprise to me anyway that Honey Davenport was this week's casualty. Now, what I do have to say is, I think those queens are all breathing a sigh of relief that she was the only one, because Ru could have certainly sent a couple of them home. I'm just saying. But there you have it. Another queen went home. What do you think? think it was deserved? Do you think some other queens should be worried? If so, who? I think Mercedes Amon Diamond, Ms. MID, dodged a bullet this week. By being picked last, she ended up on Nina's team, and through no fault of her own was safe this week. I'm serious. Those other queens, though, oh, I don't know. I still think it's up to Mercedes Amon Diamond to sparkle, and then I don't know why everyone seems to think Akira's not doing well, but if she doesn't do something to make those other queens start to think that she's something to be watched, she could also, I think, get shunted into the bottom in another challenge. All we have to do is tune in next week to find out who it is that's in the bottom. And then when you're done, you come on back and see me so you and I can compare notes. Now, don't forget to like this video if you haven't. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because if you haven't already, what the heck is wrong with you? Join the trend I'm on, just saying. Also, don't forget that I have a Patreon account. You can sponsor me there. If you do $5 or more, you get access to my Wilma Drinks tutorials. And this week's Pop Diva cocktail, the tutorial is up there now. But in the description below, I've written down the recipe. So you can just make it yourself. You know, it's not rocket science. It's just cocktail, I'm just saying. Also, don't forget, I have merchandise on Redbubble. I've got that link down there as well. So, until next week, miss me! Mwah! Ooh, seriously, Jorge. I love that we're making better cocktails now.